Exactly. So Rabbi Yosef said to Abaye, did Rabbah follow the teaching of Rav? That was his question. Did he follow the teaching of Rav? Rav had a certain halacha, had a certain leniency when it came to uh, Shabbat with hot water that was heated up before Shabbat. That Rav said you could actually wash your whole body at once as long as you leave over one part of your one limb, which is a leniency because the other rabbi says you can't do that. You have to just wash. You only can wash your hands, your feet with that water. And so Rabbi Yosef made an inquiry of Abaye. Did when Rabbah in practice in his house, did he follow the opinion of Rav? Did he follow the opinion of Rav? So the Gemara says, what do you mean? We knocked out the opinion of Rav. We had proof that you cannot wash your whole body with hot water just except one limb. So the Gemara says maybe he didn't hear about it. Maybe Rabbah didn't know about that. Good morning, Ralph, and welcome back. Maybe Rabbah did not know about the refutations on Rav's opinion, and therefore maybe he followed Rav's opinion. So the Gemara says, if he did not hear, what kind of question you want to know? Does Rabbah in personal life follow the opinion of Rav regarding this case, right? This specific case. You asked very specific. This case of washing, bathing, or washing your whole body except one. Morning, Ralph. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We missed you.
I know. I'm sorry I haven't been around.
Okay, now you're here.
Hey, Ralph.
Hi. Who's that?
How are you, Ralph? Welcome back.
Who's
We
that?
miss you.
That's
Oh,
Mark
how are you?
Ashley.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Mark is all bundled up. What do you think?
Stay warm.
So the Gemara said, what kind of question is it? We ilo shmirle. Now we're on 48.2, the big middle paragraph on side 1, 48.2, about 10 lines down. Vilo shmirle vadi of it. If he didn't hear, he definitely followed the opinion of Rav. If he didn't hear the refutations of Rav, he definitely would have followed Rav. Why? The Abaye made a general statement. Kol milei demar. Any situation of his, mar is like master, of his, meaning Rabbah, ovid kirav. Anytime there was a halachic disagreement, Ralph on 48.2, he followed Rav bar mehani tlas. There were 3 cases that he did not agree, did not follow the opinion of Rav. What were the 3 exceptions that the Ovid Kishmuel? He followed Shmuel. Remember, we all know about Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai. But similarly, that you have Beit Hillel, Beit Shammai, and you have Abaye Rava, you have Rav and Shmuel. These were the 2 rabbis that argued with each other a lot. And in these 3 cases, he followed Shmuel. What were the 3 cases? Matilin, we said this on Friday. We started this piece of the Gemara. Matilin mi beged lebeged. You could take off tzitzit from one garment, Simon. If you have a tzitzit and it's an old pair of tzitzit, and you want to go ahead and take the tzitzit from that pair of tzitzit, take the tzitzit out of the garment and put it into a different garment, a newer garment, or might not even need to be newer garment, to another garment. You have a right to do that. And that's a matter of argument, because Rav says you can't do that. Rav says you can't go ahead and take tzitzit from an old garment. If the garment could still be worn, even if it's old, you can't go ahead and take it out to put into a new garment. You want the new garment, get its own tzitzit. Don't take a garment that you're fulfilling the mitzvah of tzitzit on that garment by having tzitzit in it, and untie those tzitzit on that garment that during the week. We're not talking about Shabbat untying it. That's not malacha on Shabbat. You can't untie knots on Shabbat. You can tie knots. You can't untie knots. But you could do your shoelaces. You know what I'm saying? Whether you should do a double knot on your shoelace or a single knot, you could talk to your rabbi, your posek, about that. My rabbi said you should not make a double knot on shoelaces. But whatever your talk to your rabbi about it. See what he says. But you can't make a professional knot. There's certain knots you can't go ahead and make on Shabbat, right? You can't make a knot that's going to last for a certain amount of time. You can't make you can't untie. One of the malachot on Shabbat is untying a professional knot, or certain types of knots. But here we're talking about not about Shabbat. We're talking about just removing the tzitzit from a garment and putting it on another garment. It might not. And the question here is it respectful for the garment to take that garment is going to lose the mitzvah? That are you being disrespectful to this garment by taking out the tzitzit from the garment, and the garment is not going to be used, is no longer fit for use for you to use, because you can't wear a garment, a four-corner garment, you can't wear it without tzitzit. In the commentary here it says, since you're taking the tzitzit from the old garment to a new garment, and also you could go ahead and take tzitzit from a new garment to another new garment. But the usual way is to take from an old to new. But you're not allowed, the commentary says, to remove from a talit tzitzit if you don't have in mind to place the tzitzit in another garment, because that is not respectful for the talit, for the tzitzit that you're removing. Now, that's one case. The second thing is umadlikin mener lener. On Hanukkah, could you go ahead and take from one, you want to light, you're lighting the menorah. Could you go from one light of the menorah and light another light of the menorah? Very good. We can't go ahead and use the menorah. Simon points out, we can't use it for personal use. But here I want to use it for Hanukkah use. I want to, not that I'm using it, I'm lighting one Hanukkah candle, taking one wick, and let's say extending the wick and putting it from one wick to the other wick. So that's a matter of dispute. Can you do that? In the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Tov Reish Ayin Daled, let's take a look in the Shulchan Aruch. Let's see what he says. He says like this. The name of the Siman is that you're allowed to light from one candle to another. You can't light a shamash from the Hanukkah candle, because the shamash is a candle that's used for personal use, right? The shamash. So he says you could light, you're allowed to go ahead and light Hanukkah from one candle to another candle. Let's say we're talking about the first night of Hanukkah, not the first night of Hanukkah, let's say the second night of Hanukkah, and you have more than one, you're going to be lighting more than one. So then the question is, can I light from one to the other? So the Shulchan Aruch says it's not called, and the way the Chafetz Chaim explains, it's not called that's lack of respect for the mitzvah by using this light from one candle, because I'm using this candle for another candle, and I'm using it directly. But if I would light a separate candle, which is not mitzvah, if I would light from that first candle, let's say I want to light menorah number 2. I want to use the candles from menorah number 1. I can't use the candle from menorah number 1 to light a shamash and then take the shamash and light the other. You get the difference? From one wick to the other wick I could use. Now, that's that's the Shulchan Aruch, and the Ashkenaz opinion, the Shulchan Aruch says the custom is to be machmir, the candles of Hanukkah not to light even from one to the other. Okay, but it's interesting that the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says that's only if they're being lit for the mitzvah. But let's say it sounds like from him, let's say the mitzvah, the time of the mitzvah, the time of the mitzvah is over, right? Let's say, I presume if you had in mind, I'm only using it for mitzvah for a half hour after dark. But now, it sounds like from him that if you want to use it, it's no longer the time of the mitzvah, so to speak, because you only had in mind for a half hour. It's after half hour, you should be able to use it to light from. But not everyone's excited about that. Even that. Okay, whatever the different customs, whether on Hanukkah you can light from one candle directly using that candle itself, that Hanukkah candle, to light another Hanukkah candle. That's a matter of dispute, and the law is you can. And that in that fashion, he followed Shmuel. Also, he also followed Shmuel in the following law: V'halacha k'sher Shimon b'greira. The law is like Reb Shimon b'greira. Greira is a very famous case in the laws of Shabbat, which will appear throughout the tractate. Greira is referring to Goreh Adam Mita v'Safsal. Can you drag a bed, a bench? Let's say you're outside you're having a picnic, and you wanted the chair to move a chair from one place on the picnic table to the other place, and it's Shabbat. The question is, it's not for sure that you're going to make, what do you call it, a furrow? You're going to make it's not sure you're going to make a furrow in the ground, which will loosen up the ground, which would be connected to the melacha of plowing, like Simon says. It's not a psik reisha, it's not definite, and I'm not mischavein. I'm not intending to make a furrow in the ground. My intention is not to loosen up the ground. My intention is to just get the bed or the chair from point A, Adam, to point B. So the question is, the fact that it might happen, you might be loosening up the soil. You don't know for sure. You might be doing, so to speak, a result of your action a malacha, a act of work might be happening on Shabbat as a result of your action. But it's not definite, and you don't have intention for that. So Shmuel says it's permitted. Shmuel says that that's not something that's forbidden to do on the Shabbat. And Rav says you can't even do that. So that's another exception that Rav said, I'm not going to follow Rav in that case. I'm going to follow Shmuel. And you'll be allowed to do that. So the Gemara's question is, so there's three exceptions. We found that Abaye went on record that he said about Rabbah, that Rabbah conducted himself, he always went ahead, he always went ahead and he always followed Rav. There's only three exceptions that he didn't follow Rav. So if there's only three exceptions that he didn't follow Rav, and this is not one of the three exceptions, so what's the hesitation? What's your question? Did he follow Rav in this case, or did not follow Rav in this case? Right? And I mean, Rabbah told him, Abai told him, I don't know. Right? That's what he said. Mark, you forgive me if I'm on this angle. Hope that's all right. No, it's good. As long as you're good. Very good. Okay. So we are on 48.2 on the bottom of the first column, the last line of the first column. So the Gemara says, Chumrei de Rav Ovid, where it says that he followed Rav. The general rule that he followed Rav was when it came to a chumrah. When it came to when Rav was more strict than Shmuel, that's where the general rule was that he followed Rav. And there's three cases that Rav was more strict than Shmuel that he didn't follow. Every case he followed Rav, where he was more strict than Shmuel, except the three that we mentioned. With the tzitzit and dragging the bed and so on. But kekule the Rav lo of it. When Rav was lenient, when Rav's position was lenient, he did not follow Rav. Rabbah followed Rav everywhere Rav was strict, except three cases. But when it came to leniencies of Rav, he did not have any rule that he followed Rav. Right, so there's definitely more than three times that he followed Shmuel, because there are many cases that Shmuel would be, that Rav will be lenient and Shmuel will be strict. Then he it's up in the air. But the rule that he followed Rav, except three cases, only applied in the stringencies, strict. And what's the idea behind that? Just a little bit, I presume, when it comes to, being strict, the rabbi wanted to be extra careful, so he took the stricter position. He followed. He felt wanting us off. Here we have most probably is Rav and Shmuel, and he felt that anywhere the great Rav was strict, I'm following his opinion. Let's say, except there was three cases that he was compelled to say otherwise. That whatever reason why he felt these are three exceptions, that he's not going to follow Rav's stringency, but in general he followed Rav's stringency. But when Rav was lenient, he not necessarily followed Rav's opinion. In this case, Rav was lenient. He allowed you to wash the whole body at one time on Shabbat with hot water that was heated up before Shabbat, as long as you left over one limb of your body that you didn't wash your body at that time with. What? Right, but it could be even bathing with one foot out of the tub. I don't know, because he said if the language is rochetz, you can wash. It's hard to know. Is it bathing or it's a good question. Is it bathing or just throwing all the water on you, just leaving over one limb, one Ezra of your body that you're not wanting asaf, and one Ezra that you're not washing.
So that's Rob had a lenient ruling here,
Right.
and that's why we don't.
No,
They
he followed. Right, if Rabbah followed, but there was a lenient ruling. And you know what Abaye said? I was in the house with the rabbi, but I don't know what he did in this case. Not always the fact that someone grows up in someone's house that he noticed everything. And especially this is more private, like we said, how he bathed on Shabbat or how he washed himself on Shabbat. That's not something that everybody's always privy to. And therefore, it's not something, how he made Kiddush. Did he stand by Kiddush or he sat by Kiddush? It's not something that, this is something that's not as perhaps in the open. Okay. Tana Rabbanan. But now, Ezra, we are in 48.2 on the top right corner. New paragraph. Tana Rabbanan. Merchat shepokaku nekavav me'er Shabbat. You have this bathhouse. And some explain you have the heat comes from underneath the bathhouse. You're heating up the water from underneath, and then you have all these holes by the ground. And if you want the water to get heated up nicely, you unplug the plugs, and you open up the holes, and now the water the fire goes up, the heat goes up very well. If you want to stop the heat from going up, you plug it, you close the holes, and now the heat does not have all these openings to go through, to go up. Yes. Yes. It's a Rabbanan, because right there, there's no problem of a person using water that was heated up before Shabbat and to bathe on Shabbat. Whole question of bathing, right? So the question of bathing on Shabbat, we said was some of the issue, the Gemara's issue was that some of the people who ran the bathhouses would actually heat it up on Shabbat and say they heat up before Shabbat as a fence. All offense.
So that means really, we were never worried about that.
Rather, you should be able to go ahead and, right, you'll be able, if it wouldn't be for them, you could go ahead and take a hot bath on Shabbat. If it wouldn't be for these not non-scrupulous people, you could take a hot bath on Shabbat with water that was heated up that was before Shabbat. Right. Now, but there are also maybe perhaps issues that might be connected to the Raita, that they do talk about the commentaries. If you go ahead and you have a lot of water on your body and you walk out in a public place from, if you go into a river and certain places, or if you go ahead and you squeezing the hair from the water, there might be issues that could lead to, again, related to maybe Torah issues. Right.
Rabbi, can you take a cold shower on Shabbat?
So the Sephardim take a cold shower on Shabbat. Yes, that is the custom by the Sephardic community. Yes. Now, Tana Rabbanan. Merchat shepokekun lekavav me'erev Shabbat lemotzi Shabbat. Sorry, me'erev Shabbat. If you have this wash house that was heated up, but you close the holes that the heat was coming from the bottom through these holes, you close it before Shabbat. The Motzi Shabbat, you can't use that bathhouse on Shabbat, but after Shabbat, the Motzi Shabbat, rochitz bo miyad. I can jump into that bathhouse. Shabbat is over. I don't have to wait any amount of time that it would take to heat up the bathhouse. It was heated up before Shabbat properly, meaning if it would have been heated up on Shabbat inappropriately in sins, maybe I might have to wait after Shabbat the amount of time that it takes to heat it up. So I shouldn't benefit from that sin. But here, if it was not that way, it was closed, it wasn't heated up on Shabbat, and I could go ahead and Motzei Shabbat, Saturday night, I could go ahead and jump into that bath. Right, exactly, right. It stayed a certain level of hot heat, correct. Maybe it was boiling hot before Shabbat, and it could be that there's still a level of heat, but there's no increase of heat that's happening once you close the holes. You see, now let's see if they say any, but right. So they point out if you did not close the holes before Shabbat, and the bathhouse continues to have added heat on Shabbat, right? It's getting, and the merchatz is getting heat. I mean, the note you refer to? Yes. See, look at note 16. If the vents were left open on the Shabbat, you cannot use the bath until enough time elapsed after Shabbat to heat them legally. The special decree, there was nothing out of concern that people might leave fires burning under the bathhouse and mistakenly rake the coals on the Shabbat. So the Gemara continues. Meaning also, because if you allow the people, by the way, if you left the holes open for Shabbat, what's the concern? Even if nobody's going to go ahead and use it on Shabbat, if you left the holes open, maybe the person will rake it on Shabbat in order that it should be boiling hot for after Shabbat also. So people should be able to use it right after Shabbat, and we don't want. We want to prevent people from doing anything that will go ahead and heat this up on Shabbat, rake a fire on Shabbat. So therefore, if you left the holes open, we're going to say you can't use it right after Shabbat. Now, if you close the holes from Erev Yom Tov, and then on Yom Tov itself, you could go umaziyah. You have a right to have a sweat bath. So what do you call a sweat bath? You could go ahead and heat up a schwitz. What do they call a schwitz? You could take a schwitz. According to, again, we'll see the halacha may change soon. But at this point, the Gemara originally you were allowed to take a schwitz on Yom Tov, but you couldn't use that water on Yom Tov, right? You couldn't use that water on Yom Tov to go ahead and take a bath. And what we're going to see also is that it seems that a hot shower or a hot bath on Yom Tov is also forbidden. and there's different reasons given. What's the issue? If a person would heat up water on Yom Tov, we said you could heat up water specifically for your hands, for your feet, for your face. You can heat up water to drink. But to heat up water, some understand it's actually a biblical prohibition, Mark. Listen to that. To actually heat up, put on hot water, put up water that you're making a fire. If you make a fire on Yom Tov for the purpose of washing your whole body. So there are many hold that would be a biblical problem. The allowance on Yom Tov to make a fire, to cook water on Yom Tov is only allowed for certain types of levels of limited allowances. It's allowed for of heating the water, making a fire for water for cooking, for washing your hands, washing your face, but the whole body, that allowance was not allowed. That's how some understand. Some understand it's a rabbinic prohibition, but some understand it's actually, many understand it's a biblical prohibition to heat up water on Yom Tov, so for that purpose. But here we said that you could go ahead on Yom Tov and take a shvitz. But that's the case is if you close. Can't, so to wash your whole body, many say it's a biblical prohibition. It's not an allowance. There's the allowance on Yom Tov that you're allowed to do. There's certain things that you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. You could carry for the purpose of Yom Tov. You could cook. You could carry. There's certain things you could do on Yom Tov. You could, but the allowance, even washing your whole body. Again, I'm talking about, let's say, a whole body wash, a whole shower with hot. Let's call it a shower. A whole shower, a full shower. Many say that's a biblical. If you're making the fire, if are you opening the valve, whatever it is, if that's going to be making a fire, that would be a biblical prohibition. That's a big deal. Many hold it's a biblical prohibition that the allowance of the type of activity. We'll want to see what the Shulchan Aruch says about it. Okay, so you know what? Maybe tomorrow we'll take out the Shulchan Aruch. We'll see about that. But okay, there's a whole discussion. You'll see in the new Yalkut Yosef. It's interesting. Maybe we should read from it. With the Saka edition, with the Hebrew English, there's a nice piece on this. And maybe at the end of the sugya, maybe we should take a look how they present it over here. It's interesting. I think that it says that Rabbi Kassin from Deal, was wanted to hear the clear bottom line from Rabbi Yosef on this subject, because it's a very complicated, as you see, it's not a simple subject. Morning, Boker Tov. Okay. Now, so here it says, if you close the holes before Yom Tov, it's still hot. The room is still hot. The water is still giving off. The room is still heated up. Right? You had it boiling hot before Yom Tov. You heated up the water before Yom Tov. You have this stuff. Now I'm talking about the shvitz, but you heat it up before Yom Tov. So you walk into that room. Now you close the holes, but it's still very hot. So he said you could go ahead and take the shvitz. But v'yotzei mishtatei beis hachitzon. When you go ahead, after you take the shvitz, you're full of sweat, right? Simon, you got that shvitz. Shvitz means sweat, right? You sweat it up. So now you can go ahead and take cold. So some understand this. You take cold water and throw the cold water on your body to get off the sweat. But where do you got to do that? In the outside room where people get dressed, that area, but not in the inside room where the bathing takes place, because people might think you went and you bathed. That's how some explain. If you're going to go in and pour the water on yourself on the inside area, you went for a shvitz inside. But people don't know what you went for a shvitz. People see, if you go ahead and you wash yourself. Cold water, right? Cold water for sure. And everybody agrees. Everybody agrees that the halacha from the Gemara is you can use cold water. That's why the Sephardim are going to use cold water. But the Ashkenazim, they might have issues with the hair and other issues. It might come to squeeze your hair if you take a shower on Yom Tov. So they might be other issues. I saw the quote from Moshe Feinstein. Let's say if a person is very, very uncomfortable and you live in, let's say, very hot climates, live in Arizona, right? It's pretty hot in Arizona. These type of places, maybe that might be, and you really feel uncomfortable. I will tell you, you're sweating, right? But I will tell you, Rabbi David Feinstein of blessed memory, he did not allow people to take. It's just Ashkenazim to take these cold showers on Yom Tov. I will tell you that, even though it was even though it wasn't so simple. Wait, what do you mean? See, in the Gemara, you're right. According to the Gemara, there's no question you could take a cold shower. You're correct, Mark. There's no question. The question is there any later customs to go ahead and to right, but I think right, but I think everybody agrees to the fact you could take, according to the law of the Gemara, you could take a cold shower. That doesn't seem to be an issue, but the custom is, once you allow people to do certain types of activities, not everybody's so learned how to deal with it, how to deal with water and towels and hair and so Ashkenazim sometimes a little bit more concerned, a little more strict. The Sephardim are a little bit more, don't worry, don't be so concerned. Some things, you know what I mean? Right? So that's how we could explain. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ma'aseh Mechasha B'nei Brak. There was a bathhouse in B'nei Brak. Shepokinu Kavav Me'erev Yom Tov. They closed the holes before Yom Tov, right? Because you can't heat up that bathhouse on Yom Tov. L'mocha, the next day, Nichnas Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva. Sounds like when the Haggadah Shal Pesach, right? Mesubah B'nei Brak, right? And they entered the Hiziu, they took a shvitz, the Yatsu v'nishat, and they actually also they threw the cold water on themselves in the outside chamber. Ella shecham mishal mechupim b'nitzarim. The hot water was covered with boards, so they don't have to. So if the hot water was covered with boards, we're going to see. We'll stop at this point at 7:25. We'll see more tomorrow. They took an extra. What did you say? Where does it say where does it say they bathed? They went in the bathhouse of Bnei Brak, and they went for a steam. They went for a steam bath in the bathhouse in Bnei Brak, but it was not just the holes were covered, it was closed. It was covering with boards. So we'll see more about that tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Time flies when you're having fun, by the way. Right, Mark? Right, Adam? Morning, Jack. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll give you another chair back in a minute. So we're gonna miss you. Right, you can't do that. You gotta reschedule. Take care. Ralph, welcome back. Asaf, have a great
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Jack Ace.